accountability and defending your rights against the police specifically, and the government generally, are difficult and dangerous tasks. Your right to watch the government and record what you see is a natural right that is protected by the Constitution, and it cannot be taken away by the government.
This video is a little different than most of my content. In the spirit of the holiday season, I've been trying to reach out and help others more. And this video is going to highlight a couple of those instances. I'll start with the one that's all about good news. I recently came across a new-to-me computer that is a major upgrade from what I've been using to edit and produce these videos. And my friend Republic, who I'm sure a lot of you on YouTube already know, gave me a great deal, making it affordable. Then I asked my friend from the YouTube channel 420RU2 to take a look at it and make sure it was fine-tuned for what I'd be using it for. Republic and I wanted to do something to thank him, since 420RU2 had also done something similar for her with her computer. So we put our heads together and decided maybe 420RU2 needed a custom intro for his channel to put on all of his videos. It took some encouragement, but I finally got Republic to utilize her vocal talents, and then I put it all together as best as I could to give a big thanks and also help support another freedom fighting channel. Links to both Republic's channel and 420RU2's channel are in the description below. Now please enjoy the vocals of Republic as she reintroduces the cop watching and freedom fighting YouTube channel 420RU2. And after that, I'll be back with another story of how I'm helping some others. And I do this not to toot my own horn, but to show and encourage others to grow your own individual value within your own community and help those around you if you have the resources. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with all your friends, and subscribe. And leave me a comment letting me know what you think of the intro. Should I encourage Republic to write more freedom-inspired lyrics?
My name is 420, are you too? Filming tyrannical government for you. You're the line, can't take my liberty. No victim, no crime, certainly no ID. My name is 420, are you too?
In this part of the video, unfortunately my help and support is because I saw and am seeing an injustice being done. If you haven't been paying attention to the channel Corth Country Off Grid, then you really should go check it out. All of the relevant links are below in the description. And I really appreciate the channel. Chad and Shelby really focus on what's important in life and cutting out the BS. One thing that really grabbed my attention in watching some of Chad's more recent dealings with Bonner County in Idaho was his talk about being part of a community. Like anybody who truly embraces freedom, Chad understands we're all different and have different likes and dislikes. But like I've said in the past, if nobody has been hurt, no property has been damaged or stolen, and no one has been defrauded, then there really is no crime and no reason to use force on anyone. Our desire to be viewed in a good standing by our neighbors, friends, and community are what would take care of how we interact with each other outside of natural law. The problem is, we've been trained and programmed to believe an absence of government and its services being forced upon us is chaos. I'll remind you the etymology of the word anarchy simply means no rulers. I and others have done videos discussing this if you want to go check them out. Interestingly enough, most people, if asked what anarchy means, will give you an answer something along the lines of there being both a lack of government and there being chaos. That, paired with our confirmation bias from what we see on TV and in Hollywood portraying the lack of government as being lawlessness and chaotic, makes most of us believe we have to have government around to protect us from all that. Back to my effort to help Corth Country Off Grid. After watching the videos of Chad having a discussion with an employee from the planning department of Bonner County, it occurred to me that it's more than likely there's some communication regarding targeting and enforcement strategies between the public employees of the department going on. I reached out to Corth Country Off Grid about some information for submitting a public records request to help get to the bottom of what's really going on up there. The request started simple and with no issues. And then after receiving 3 communications with no issue regarding how I submitted my request, I received an email stating per Idaho's statute and the department's requirements, I was being asked to submit additional information in order to have the request fulfilled. I'll get into explaining all that in just a second, but first I'm reminded of a quote from Frederick Bastiat's The Law. It goes like this: As long as it is admitted that the law may be diverted from its true purpose, that it may violate property instead of protecting it, then everyone will want to participate in making the law, either to protect himself against plunder or to use it for plunder. Remember that thought. It's an important concept, and we can see it everywhere around us today at every level of government. You guys, we're not safe from the evils of being ruled over, and we must be ever vigilant to expose how government and its statutes corrupt everyone. Even those in our own communities find ways to justify their use of laws that plunder some while benefiting others. Laws don't make things moral or ethical. They make them acceptable or justified in a system set up to benefit those who choose to ditch their ethics and morals to play by the rules of the game. Our wealth isn't in how much fiat currency we can accumulate based on cooperation with unethical laws. Instead, it's in our relationships with our neighbors and communities. It's in how we use our knowledge and talents to affect those in our sphere of influence. It's time to wake up and start ditching our rulers who keep us in servitude, rather than ditching our ethics to serve for paper wealth.
Not even being transparent enough to the people that you operate or you answer to don't even know?
Okay?
How am I making an assumption?
Because I haven't had the chance to talk with Dan and understand what he knows.
I could prove it to you.
I understand.
I could absolutely prove it to you.
I get it.
I don't know. I'm not making an assumption. I'm telling you it's verifiable proof. He made a public statement saying that you guys do not use realtor websites at all. Zero real estate websites at all to find permitting violations, yet you are doing it. That is an issue. You don't see that as an issue?
I don't.
I mean, I understand that your paycheck is important to you.
Chad, don't.
But I would think that the way that you operate in this community should matter as well.
It does. That's why we continue
To who?
make changes to the ordinances.
I'm coming
changes
to you and I'm
this
telling you I have an
department to
issue, and
improve it.
I'm telling you that if the people have an
So,
issue,
let
will
me
you change
have
it?
some-
And you told me no, if the commissioners say it, then you'll do it.
Right. Let me meet with them and talk with them about it and see what their challenges are.
I think the issue is that because you don't see a problem in it, that you morally don't have issues with going after neighbors and then anonymously reporting it. Do you understand that
Did
if
you
you're
know
pitting,
that when you
if
bought
you're
your
pitting
property,
neighbors
you needed a permit?
do you understand
Did you know when you
that,
bought
do
your
you
property, you needed a
understand that
permit?
if you are getting neighbors against each other, you are not making a better community?
You're not
So when you say, hey, your neighbor turned you in, your compliance officers specifically say your neighbor turned you in. It was a neighbor that turned you in. They're lying.
Not always.
Are you
Because we
okay?
have neighbors turn people in
If
all the
they've
time.
done it one time, they're lying about it, period. You're lying about it. If you're lying about it, you're lying to the public. Who do you think should be held responsible? The head of the department? I'm assuming you know that Lee lies to people about this stuff, correct?
I don't know that.
How do you not know it? He's underneath you. You're supposed to be in charge of the department, so you're claiming ignorance? So are you surprised by me telling you this? Because you don't seem surprised.
Chad, we find out violations in lots of different ways.
Let's talk about this one specifically then.
We investigate.
Listen,
them
you're not
in
going to
lots of
sidestep
different
me,
ways.
okay? You're not going to sidestep what I'm saying. I suggest you answer it straight up or tell me you're done answering questions. I'm telling you that
I told you what I'm going to do.
Lee is submitting anonymous reports, okay, saying it's a neighbor. He's lying to the community. He works for the community. He answers to the community. Do you feel like that's someone that you should employ?
Yes.
You do.
I need to.
Someone that's lying to the community?
Let me research this stuff a little bit further before you make assumptions.
I'm not making assumptions.
Let me
I'm
look
telling
at
you,
the
you guys have been caught. It's been recorded.
It's not caught, dude.
How's it not caught?
Because
Because you guys are operating in a certain way that the public
there's nothing wrong with
has
way that we
not been
operate.
aware of.
So you
But
can
there's
get
the
your-
issue that you're wielding a giant hammer that we've given you.
Boy, it's a pretty small hammer. You go anywhere, you go anywhere else in any other state, and you tell me that where you can go in, walk in, and talk to your planning director, and he's going to try to make it work. Most of it's like, I've got property in Montana, I've got property in Washington. Let me tell you something. What you get is a letter, and this is what you will do, and this is how you'll do it. And
Right,
that's it.
right.
There's no discussion. There's no motivation for the director to get involved and try to make it work. We're trying to change that. And I can't believe that we're having this discussion because we are more able to make the rules fit and we're more responsive to changing the rules
Right.
than any place I've ever dealt
And-
with.
and I'll-
That's what we want, is people living in RVs all over Bonner County. Maybe that's what I said. But
Can I ask you why it is you don't like that?
I just think that, that when you have neighbors, and I don't know, I've lived here my whole life.
Mhm.
I've lived here for 61 years, and I've seen different things that have become what I call a nuisance.
Mhm.
And junk piles around, and I'm pushing all the time.
Is that a nuisance because of what it looks like, or what it winds up becoming? Because it
Both.
becomes a lot of criminal element that comes along with that.
Well, I don't know about
It's
that.
not about
I
the
can't
criminal
say
element,
criminal element.
it's
I
the
wouldn't-
wear and tear of the structure, right? And so, and that's just life, right?
But I mean, that seems like a specific junkyard issue. And again, I mean, no one loves it, but isn't it that man's right to have his junkyard if that's his beloved junkyard? And we're talking about individual rights versus.
Are you talking about Blanchard area?
What's your
No, this is almost Kootenai County.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
What are you, a mile and a
I-
half?
I don't-
I don't know that country that well.
But I'm just saying, if these developers keep coming in, and we know that they are,
They will.
at what point do we say, guys, we're running out of these ag zones? That creates an issue with food in the future for this area. I'm watching my
Maybe,
grass.
but
I'm
if
watching
it's
my
not-
grass go away
But if
in
it's not
Hayden.
ag, if it's not ag,
Well, we don't want to do that.
if it's not being used as agriculture, are we talking about or is it just ag 20 and it's kind of a?
Well, I'm
sparsely populated?
currently using it as agriculture. I have a farm on it,
Yeah,
so I'm using it as Ag 20.
so it could be.
But you want a realist, you got a developer who's coming in trying to change it to 5s. At no point would we ever go back and take those 5s and turn them into Ag 20s because we ran out of land. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I do.
I mean, once we go there, we can never come back. I understand it, but it seems like those guys are dictating what we do, and that's not, to me, that's not acceptable. But I understand your point, like, we don't want it to look like crap in this area. I completely agree with you. But then it reverts back to, you got the right to make your land look like crap. Whether we like it or not. We've talked about this in our meeting. If you don't like what your neighbor does, buy your neighbor's land, or buy bigger land to where it doesn't affect you. But when those 4 walls go up to the sky, that's what you get, and that's it. You're not entitled to what your neighbor does. You're just not. Until he harms you, you have no recourse.
Well, and what is that harm? What is that harm that he does to you?
Well, I think if you tried to argue harm to, property value for someone such as myself, if a builder came in and built all around me, to me, he's lowering the value of my property because now my secluded property is no longer secluded. I'm living in a neighborhood. Do I have that right to say, hey, man, you put in a neighborhood around me, you lowered my property value? That if it's monetary, it's monetary. It's the value in my eyes. I mean, that's the definition of value. It's not monetary. So if you're saying protecting the monetary value of land in Bonner County, it has a whole different meaning to it. What people see as value is, it's in their eye. Damage-wise,
So
if I light my property on fire and then it goes to my neighbors, I'm now responsible for the damage. If I run my sewage line to his property line and let it run into his property, that's my damage to him. He's a damaged party at that point. If we don't have a damaged party, why are we trying to enforce codes? There's no damaged party. No one's reported anything.
It's a nanny state, trying to basically enforce.
It does become.
Okay, so you guys just watched some clips from the Corth Country Off Grid YouTube channel where Chad himself went to the Bonner County Planning Office and actually confronted the director himself with some of the things that have been going on there. I definitely encourage you guys to use the links down in the description and check out all the videos. There's 4 parts to it, and there's a lot of really good information and a lot of things that Chad talks about, and it's a good conversation between the department head and Chad and then one of the commissioners who later comes in. Now I just want to move on to the emails. So this is the first email that I sent. Those videos that you just watched, those clips, those videos are what inspired me to do this public records request because it just seemed a little bit fishy, some of the things they were saying. And I thought, you know what, I can help out. I've done some public records requests, so I'm going to help out here, and I'm going to do one, try to get a little bit more additional information for the Corth Country Off Grid channel. Try to help them out a little bit. So here's what I have here. This is my first email that I sent. Just Pretty simple. Pursuant to Idaho Code 74-102, I'm requesting a copy in digital form of any emails sent to or received by anyone in the Planning Department of Bonner County, Idaho, between January 1st, 2019 and present day, which is November 25th, 2019, that contain any or all of the following terms. And then I have some names in there, an address, some things I don't necessarily want to share with everybody in the public right now. It might eventually get out depending on if this public records request gets fulfilled. But here's the email I submitted. I wanted to show you guys this just to show you, first of all, how to submit a public records request. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have to be on some form they give you. You can just send an email or write it on a piece of paper yourself. Usually has to be in writing, and usually you do have to give some form of identifying factor and a way to communicate back. The identifying factor can be an organization or your personal name. I've used both. And like I said, it could just be an email address or a phone number, just a way for them to communicate back with you when, you know, what the process, how the process is going with getting your records fulfilled. So that's the email I sent out. Whoops. Down here at the bottom, just get their response. Bonner County Planning Department has received your public records request, and due to the time required to research and fulfill this request, a 10 business day extension has been attached, and then they did attach it's a form explaining why they're asking for, or why they're taking that 10 business day extension to fulfill the request. So I'll get rid of that there, and we will pull up this. So this is, sorry, let me get to the right page here, y'all. I apologize for that. So right here, this is, after I got that response, this is the next day. Emily, who sent the previous response, just says, I'm reviewing the public records request you submitted yesterday, and for all requests, the first 2 hours of staff research and record preparation are free, and after that, there's an hourly staff fee. At this point, we're compiling an estimated amount of time it will take to complete your request, and we'll email you an approximate figure of that cost. And I see then she goes on to say, I see that your request includes emails to the Bonner County Planning Department with only a one-word search, such as Chad, Shelby, and Baker. Please be advised that these emails, basically I'll just cut it short, she's saying that these can pull up a bunch of erroneous results that aren't going to be necessarily pertinent to the information you're looking for. Then she even goes on to say there's a planning director with the name Chad in another county, and so it would pull up those emails, and there's probably a lot of those. So, you know, based on that, I sent her a response. You know, you can do multiple requests, so if I don't get everything I need with this first one, I can always do an additional request. So I did, just to keep costs down and the response time to get this request back, I responded saying, yeah, let's go ahead and take out those single names of Chad, Shelby, and Baker to keep the time down. And then so I got, this would be her third response to me now, and this will become important in just a little bit, you'll see why, where she just says, you're welcome, and we'll be in touch, have a great Thanksgiving. So that's the third response I've gotten from the Bonner County Planning Department's public records person. And so far, everything seems gravy. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and move forward with this, let you know costs, all that kind of stuff. So then, about a week later, the 4th of December, I get this email from Emily. She says, I wanted to touch base with you regarding your public records request. It's our policy to follow the state statute for all records requests. So she's saying we're going to follow the state statute. The state statute they're citing is Section 4 of the public records statute here, 74-102 in Idaho. It says a public agency or independent body, public body, corporate, and politic may require that a request for public records be submitted to it in writing that provides the requester's name, mailing address, email address, and telephone number. A request for public records and delivery of the public records may be made by electronic mail. So basically it's saying right there that a department or whoever you're requesting the public record from, they have the ability to require, if they want, your name, mailing address, email, and a telephone number in order to get that in writing, in order to get that record from them. So then she goes on to state, at a minimum, please provide your name, mailing address, and telephone number. We already have your email in a response. And then, although you are not required to complete the attached public records request, I have attached it in case you prefer to complete a formal request. So just a couple things I wanted to mention here I thought it was interesting. So it is our policy to follow the state statute. So she's implying there that the state statute is what's requiring this, that the state of Idaho is who's requiring this information, this additional information other than just my email address and questionable authority as the organization requesting it. So what she's saying is it's the state requiring this, when in actuality the Section 4 here actually states that it's It's the body that you're requesting it that can require that. So it's the planning department in Bonner County that's requiring this, not the state. The state isn't requiring it. They're just saying that the planning department can require it. Okay. Then the only thing I thought was interesting there is she says if I want to complete a formal request, submitting it in as it says here, electronic form is submitting a formal request. I cited the code that they're supposed to adhere to, and I put my specific search terms and what I was requesting in there and submitted it to them. That is a formal request right there. You don't have to use their form to make it formal. This is just more, they're trying to get me to comply and do it their way. So that's just more of this. If you want to have it formal, it's already formal. I submitted it in the formal way already. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was kind of interesting. So then a couple days later, I hadn't responded yet. I wasn't sure exactly how to handle it. So I was thinking about it. She just sent a response saying, hey, I just wanted to make sure that you received our response so we can move forward with this if you want to. So after a couple days, like I said, I got a chance to figure it out. So what I did is I sent this email, said, I'd like to speak a little bit about your requirements for fulfilling this request. I said, is it a standard policy for all requests in your department? And if so, I'd like to see the printed policy. It seems like if this was your policy, the initial response to me would have been asking me for this additional information. Instead, I got a correspondence from you asking for additional time. Then I got a correspondence from you stating the possible issues with the terms I was using and that there might be some extra and erroneous information included in your response. And then I responded removing some of those terms, and you responded in the affirmative to me. So that's now 3 responses I've received back with no issues regarding the information I supplied to you. None of those communications, as I say here, mentioned anything about the requirements you have now given me. And this leads me to believe that you've started processing the request and you were told to get this information, and that makes me question why you want it. Is it possibly retaliatory? We know that governing bodies, whether it's the very local level all the way up to the federal level, are not afraid to retaliate against people who want to speak out against them. And then it just goes on. I just go on to say there's a couple other things I wanted to point out. It seems like your requirements for fulfilling this request might be a bit discriminatory. Are we required to have a phone in this country? I guess I thought the governments of this country that are for the people and by the people supposedly are supposed to be transparent about your processes. It seems like requiring a mailing address when I'm asking for nothing to be mailed is also a bit discriminatory. So like I said, I didn't know it was law that you had to have a phone and a phone number in this country, or even an address for that matter. Might make things a little bit more tough if you don't have any of those things, but it's not required. So how can they require me to have them in order to get this records request fulfilled? I just went on to say, it seems to me the only thing that should be required are an organizational name or some other identifying factors such as a name and a way to communicate is all that's necessary. And for the record, I've done multiple records requests in multiple states and counties, and you're the only ones who has ever required any more information than I already gave. And if you insist on providing to ask for more information before you will fulfill this request, then I will be contacting an attorney to make sure that I'm not being discriminated against before I do. So I just want to let them know, look, I'm not messing around here. This is discriminatory what you're doing. It's not being transparent. That's the whole point of these public records laws in every state, is to make it so the government has to be transparent and it has to answer to the people. And as we can see, they fight tooth and nail to do it. They don't want what they're doing to get out. So they'll use all these little silly laws and all these little silly, statutes written down on pieces of paper that are supposed to govern over our lives. So that's the email I sent. Then, I got a response. Let's see, that was sent on the 9th. So it was that same day. I got a response later in the day from, this must be Emily's supervisor. She must have forwarded it to her. This is Jeannie Welter from the Planning Department of Bonner County. And she says, we apologize for the confusion. This is the statute we rely on. And then again, lists the Section 4 of 74-102 of the Idaho Code there. Basically, again, saying a public agency or independent public body, corporate and politic, may require that a request for public records be submitted to it in writing. So again, she's saying that it's the state saying that, but really it's the state saying they can require it. So again, I don't they didn't answer any of my questions whether or not this is their policy, or they just decided to do it because, wow, now all of a sudden we want to know who's asking for this information that might make us look bad. I don't know that any of the information I'm asking for is going to make them look bad. What I know is the circumstances leading up to this information that I'm asking for tells me there's probably going to be some shady things going on in some of the things talked about, I guess, in some of those emails. I have yet to see that, but the way they're reacting kind of makes me think they have something to hide. So anyways, like I said, I just wanted to do this. I'm trying to help out other people in the community, other people in the auditing community, and my local community. This is how, you know, we build my own personal value, but this is also how we build friendships and connections within a community. So I reached out to North Idaho North Country Off Grid to do this, and I'm more than happy to help them out. And I wanted to show you guys that this is how you can do public records requests. You don't have to use their forms that they provide. You can just send it in an email like this. You can use their forms if you want to. Just wanted to show you guys and introduce some people that maybe don't know how to do a public records request, or maybe a little intimidated by it, that it's a pretty simple process. And you know what? If you make a mistake, you can just correct it later. So anyways, you guys have an excellent rest of your day, and always remember to record the police.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button and share it with everyone you know. Find us on Twitter, as well as censorship-free platforms like BitChute and Steemit or DTube. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to smile at someone you don't know every day.